We greet our parish family on this beautiful snowy day. I would like to wish you Καλό μήνα, to have a beautiful, healthy, and spiritually fulfilling month of February. As you all know, the church celebrates tomorrow the feast of the Υπαπαντή, the presentation of the Lord in the temple. A very important feast of the Lord, which also makes reference to messianic prophecies, makes reference to our own journey to find Christ, which begins from our very conception and is being fulfilled with our entrance into the sacraments of the church, our immersion into the life of Christ. And definitely it has to do with a significant ministry of the church, which is the ministry to the youth, the ministry to children. So let's take one of these very important themes and discuss them. As you all know, it is impossible to have our vesperal service tonight because of the adverse weather conditions, but at least we can together immerse into the meaning of the feast and discuss it even through this remote method, but nevertheless find out what is really important about the feast of the presentation of the Lord. First and foremost, we know from the biblical narrative that Saint Simeon was awaiting the coming of Christ, that he indeed would be the priest who will be commissioned with the responsibility, with a sacred task, to bring the infant Messiah in the temple. That his days on this planet would not be over until he had this great, great honor. For any priest, the moment that we bring a baby, an infant, into the church is a moment of divine revelation, because every child is born and created in the image and likeness of God. Therefore, every time God bestows the gift of life to our families, to our lives, to our ministries, this gift is reflecting the grace of God, is mirroring the fact that God is present in our midst. Christ even said, unless we become like these, the least of our brethren, unless we become pure and innocent, just like children, we cannot enter his kingdom. And Saint Simeon, as the priest, was commissioned to do something that is beyond any comprehension for any priest, to hold the Lord and to be able to minister to Christ himself. His words that are in the biblical narrative, Nin apollis ton doulos σου despota, not now let your servant depart, for I have seen the light. Because Saint Simeon at this moment saw the one who is the light. Εγώ είμαι το φως. Christ is the light. Christ is the way. Christ is the life. He is the fos, the light that illumines all. He is the way to salvation, Iodos. He is life, with capital L, η ζωή. Christ is God. And God created light because God is light. God created life because God is life, is the one who is, or on. And God is the path, is the way, because there's no other way. There's no other way. Apart from going to God, to saving our souls, all the other ways are the ways of the ways of perdition, the ways of self-destruction. He is the only way. And Saint Simeon, his life at this very moment is fulfilled. Now let your servant depart in peace, for I have seen the light of salvation. Nin apollis ton doulos σου despota κατά το ρήμα σου, as you have told me, as you have revealed to me. Saint Simeon sees the light, and now he's ready to go. His life is complete. This is the very prayer that we also recite and say as priests when a child is brought for the first time in their lives in the temple, in the church. The first time that they enter the naos, the structure of the church, as we bring the baby in the sanctuary, we say these words of Saint Simeon. Can you imagine what we're saying as priests? Now let me depart. Now my life is complete. I've brought a baby in the church. My ministry is fulfilled. My life is complete. Very heavy words. They hold a lot of gravity if we only know what they mean and what we're asking of God. But it is our ministry to bring children into the abode of His happiness, of His blessings, of His love. That's the main ministry of the priesthood. Start with the children and protect the children and love them and pray for them and be there for them whenever they need something, to pray for them. And I hope that this day, as you are, most of you, I believe, snowed in, you can sit together with your children, watch this video, and bring this light of salvation into your home. Despite the adverse conditions, we can always be with the church. It started on the 40th day, of course, when as children were brought for the Sarandismos, for the beautiful, beautiful blessing of the 40th day. And before that, we have the naming service for a baby, for an infant, because we give the couple at least a week to decide on the name. Back then, they didn't have any way of knowing the gender of the child, if they have one or two, or twins or triplets. So they had a week to at least decide. And on the 8th day, they would bring the child. Actually, the priest comes to the house and prays for the baby and prays for the mother, and then officially gives the newborn a name, a baptismal name. The baptism hasn't happened yet, but that name will be held until the baptism, and officially, of course, it will be announced. But a lot of families, a lot of people, I grew up in Greece, they would say, don't refer to the baby by the name until they're baptized. That's wrong. The baby has a name from the naming service, from the onomastiria on the 8th day. And on the 40th day, the priest actually recites the name in the presence of the congregation. Εκκλησιάζεται ο δούλος ή η δούλη του Θεού, the servant of God, and then says the name, is churched. And we say the name on the 40th day, and of course, we ratify it with the baptismal service, when also the certificate is issued officially with that baptismal name that we uphold and have for our whole life. Now, Saint Simeon is doing something that is very important for all of us, because what he's doing, we're imitating in grace with a 40-day blessing. But this 40-day blessing it's not just an opportunity to take a picture in front of the altar with a newborn and the parents. It's also an opportunity to think about our own journey for salvation. Because our own journey for salvation begins with a catechesis, with learning the faith. That's why the beginning of the service is at the narthex, which is the place of the catechumens, where this child will be instructed in the faith. And then the process of bringing this child all the way to the sanctuary is reflecting our own journey, our own process of growth, spiritual growth, on the way to salvation. We are dedicating, as parents, this child to God because they are from God. We are, in theological terms, as parents, called co-creators to the Creator. Συνδημιουργεί το δημιουργό. In actuality, He is the δημιουργό, alone, because He created us too. So we haven't created anything He hasn't created. So God is the one who creates life, because like we said before, God is life. And as God, who is life, is giving us the blessing of parenthood, the gift, the privilege of parenthood, we indicate and manifest on the day of the 40-day blessing that it is not really our child. It is his. This is his child. This baby is his. And that's why the priest dedicates the child in front of the altar, because just like Abraham gave the ultimate sacrifice, but indeed he didn't have to, God replaced Isaac with the sacrificial goat. But in this case, reminiscing and reflecting the sacrifice of the Son, of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But we are offering this ultimate dedication that our child belongs to God. Let's not forget that. Sometimes we as parents give priorities to things that are of least significance and less importance. Let's remember what's truly important. Building characters, cultivating souls, loving our children, giving our children spiritual nourishment. You would never allow your child to go to the trash bin, a trash can in the street or in the subway and open up the contents and eat out of them. But we do it with TV and computers. We allow them to see so much trash that is toxic for their soul. We protect their stomach, very important, but we don't protect with the same valor, the same dedication, the soul. A lot of times we hear of things that happen because of absentee parents, because of parents who forget that they need to be parental. We are not asked to be just best friends and cool, and we are asked to be parental with love and spend time, invest time actually for our children. It's very important to invest time for the youth. They need it. We need it. It will pay back. That's why it's called an investment down the road. When we learn the faith and a child has fervent and strong faith, everything in continuation of life is easier. The studying, the hard work ethic, the good morale, the upstand virtue, the upright virtue. It's very important to start from a young age. As the famous psychologist once said, that the first years build the personality, then the character, then the ethos, and the last years of adolescent the behavior. After that, we have to just trust our children. We have to start early. We need to cultivate faith, strong faith, with our own example. We need to pray together. We need to exercise the principles of fasting, charity, philanthropy, solidarity, love, patience, humility, forgiveness. And then when you plant those seeds, one by one, they will bring forth good fruit of salvation. It takes patience, it takes time, but it's worth it. The Feast of the Presentation is very important for all of us because it's also about the protection of our children. Because children are sacred. As simple as that. Children are sacred. We live in a world that they seem not to care about the sanctity of a child's life. They don't seem to worry about what happens to children around the globe, and from forced child labor, from terrible atrocities, wars, all the way to the trade of human little infant and little innocent children, all the way to how they're portrayed in different platforms and media, all the way to how they have been used and abused by adults and a system of oppression. We live in a world that we try to teach children, I'm afraid, the wrong things and in the wrong way. We overwhelm them with unnecessary information in school, really unnecessary information that they will never use in their lives, and we put so much pressure on them. And we forget the important things, how to be good people, how to be respectful, and how to work hard for the things they love, not for the things we love, but for the things they would aspire to fulfill in their lives. And we have this system of grading them and putting them on different plateaus just to really reflect our own priorities, not theirs. It would be great if we allowed children to be children. First and foremost, to be innocent, not to be immersed into the corruption, the toxicity of life. Secondly, to allow them to enjoy education in a Socratic method, in a dialectical manner. The way we do our sermons and the way we teach our faith, as Jesus did, with the questions that we oftentimes do in school, the discussion that we had always in Goya, and all the good things that we learn by being ourselves. We learn more when we are able to cook a meal at Ronald McDonald House rather than when we are actually doing algebra for things that we will never use unless we become math teachers or something along those lines. We have, I believe, misplaced our direction in education. A lot of children graduate school. They never had an idea of how to balance a checkbook. They never had an idea of how to run a household, or basic things that are very important about their own cultivation and their own survival. To cook healthy meals, to be vigilant and select their nutrition appropriately, to also try and learn what they love in life and educate themselves on that, what they love, and pursue their own, they call it career, their own calling based on what they want. And it's important to use this feast of the presentation to allow our children to come close to God. And when they come close to God, they come closer to themselves and their own self-fulfillment. So I wish to all of you a beautiful day today, as we are in the house and unable to go places, but it's okay. It's good to also think of God when we're home and when we can take everything a little slower and relax and spend time with the family and with our children. Ask God to protect and bless our beautiful youth. I started today with early in the morning with pictures of babies that were born between yesterday and today from the parish, and the couples that were sending me beautiful pictures. These little angels just made my day. And I have to say that for any priest, this is the highlight of our pastoral ministry, when we can see good people, young people come to God and love God. And we ask of God to take care of our children and to bring us all closer together to Him. And may God bless you. Have a beautiful καλό μήνα, καλή εβδομάδα, and a feast of the presentation. Η γιορτή της Υπαπαντής με υγεία, χαρά και κάθε ευλογία. And every blessing to your family.